Adolf Hitler, A Comprehensive Biography. Early life and formative years, 1889 to 1918. Birth and childhood. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889, in the small Austrian town of Braunau am Inn, near the German border. He was the fourth of 6 children born to Alois Hitler, a customs official, and Clara Hitler, née Pölzl, though only Adolf and his sister Paula would survive into adulthood. His father, an authoritarian figure, had risen from humble beginnings as an illegitimate child to become a mid-level civil servant, which gave the family a comfortable middle-class existence. The young Hitler showed early intelligence but developed a rebellious streak, particularly against his father's attempts to steer him toward a career in civil service. Hitler's childhood was marked by frequent moves as his father received new postings, from Braunau to Passau, then to Lambach, and finally to Leonding near Linz. These relocations exposed the young Hitler to different environments within German-speaking Austria. Education and artistic aspirations. Hitler's school career was uneven. He performed well in elementary school but struggled in the more rigorous high school, Realschule, in Linz, which he entered in 1900. His academic performance declined, particularly in subjects that didn't interest him, while he remained passionate about history, especially when taught by the nationalist Professor Leopold Poch, who glorified German heroes and instilled pan-German ideals. After his father's sudden death in 1903, Hitler's behavior in school worsened. He left the Linz Realschule in 1905 without graduating. Convinced of his artistic talent, Hitler persuaded his mother to support his dream of becoming a painter. In 1907, he moved to Vienna to apply to the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts. His application was rejected, a crushing blow that the Academy's registrar attributed to Hitler's unfitness for painting and lack of talent for figure drawing. Vienna years, poverty and radicalization. Following his mother's death from breast cancer in December 1907, treated by Jewish Dr. Eduard Bloch, Hitler remained in Vienna, living a bohemian existence. He drifted between menial jobs and homeless shelters, selling watercolor paintings of Vienna landmarks to make ends meet. These years proved formative in shaping Hitler's worldview. Vienna at this time was a hotbed of political ideologies, including fierce German nationalism, anti-Semitism, and anti-Slavic sentiment. Hitler absorbed the rhetoric of politicians like George Ritter von Schauner and Karl Lueger, the populist mayor of Vienna who used anti-Semitism as a political tool. Hitler also developed his hatred for Marxism and the Habsburg monarchy during this period. While historians debate the extent of Hitler's anti-Semitism during these Vienna years, his later writings suggest this was when many of his prejudices crystallized. He lived in Vienna until May 1913, when he moved to Munich, possibly to avoid Austrian military service, though he was eventually deemed unfit due to physical weakness. World War I service. The outbreak of World War I in August 1914 gave Hitler a sense of purpose. He enthusiastically enlisted in the Bavarian army, despite being Austrian, and served as a dispatch runner on the Western Front. His bravery earned him the Iron Cross Second Class in 1914 and the Rare Iron Cross First Class in 1918, a decoration rarely given to enlisted men. Hitler's war experience profoundly affected him. He was wounded in 1916, a leg injury from a shell explosion at the Battle of the Somme, and temporarily blinded by a British mustard gas attack in October 1918. While recovering in a military hospital, he learned of Germany's surrender, news that devastated him. Like many German nationalists, Hitler embraced the stab in the back myth, believing the undefeated German army had been betrayed by Marxists and Jews on the home front. Political Awakening and Rise to Power, 1919 to 1933. Early Nazi Party years. After the war, Hitler remained in the army as an intelligence agent monitoring political groups in Munich. In September 1919, he attended a meeting of the Small German Workers' Party, DAP, where his impassioned anti-Semitic rant impressed the members. He soon joined the party, member number 555, though the numbering started at 500 to make the group appear larger, and quickly rose through its ranks with his powerful oratory skills. By 1920, Hitler had taken charge of party propaganda and helped draft its 25-point program, which combined nationalist, anti-Semitic, anti-capitalist, and anti-Marxist ideas. The party renamed itself the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDP or Nazi Party, in February 1920. Hitler's talent for public speaking, with his raspy, passionate delivery and ability to read crowds, made him the party's most valuable asset. Beer hall putsch and imprisonment. In November 1923, inspired by Mussolini's March on Rome, Hitler attempted to overthrow the Bavarian government in the beer hall putsch. The coup failed spectacularly when state police fired on the Nazi marchers, killing 16. Hitler was arrested and tried for high treason, using the trial as a platform to spread his nationalist message. Surprisingly, he received a lenient 5-year sentence in Landsberg prison, where he served only 9 months in comfortable conditions. During his imprisonment, Hitler dictated Mein Kampf, My Struggle, to his deputy Rudolf Hess. This rambling, semi-autobiographical manifesto outlined his racial ideology, anti-Semitism, plans for German expansion, Lebensraum, and criticisms of democracy and communism. Though initially selling poorly, it would become the Nazi Bible after Hitler's rise to power. Rebuilding the Nazi movement. After his release in December 1924, Hitler faced a ban on public speaking and a fractured Nazi movement. He spent the next years reorganizing the party with a more disciplined structure, creating new branches across Germany, and developing paramilitary groups like the SA, Storm Troopers, under Ernst Röhm and later the SS under Heinrich Himmler. The Nazi Party remained marginal during Germany's relative stability in the mid-1920s. However, the Great Depression after 1929 created the crisis Hitler needed. Mass unemployment, hyperinflation, and political gridlock made the Weimar Republic increasingly unstable. Hitler's message of national revival resonated with desperate Germans, and Nazi electoral success grew dramatically, from 2.6% in 1928 to 18.3% in 1930 and 37.3% in July 1932. Path to Chancellorship. Despite 2 failed presidential runs against Hindenburg in 1932, Hitler's political maneuvering improved. Conservative elites, believing they could control Hitler, pressured President Hindenburg to appoint him Chancellor on January 30, 1933. Hitler's first cabinet included only 2 other Nazis, with conservatives like Franz von Papen as Vice-Chancellor, believing they had boxed Hitler in. Dictatorship and World War II, 1933 to 1945. Consolidation of power. Hitler moved swiftly to establish a dictatorship. The Reichstag fire in February 1933, possibly set by a Dutch communist but exploited by the Nazis, provided the pretext for the Reichstag fire decree, suspending civil liberties. The Enabling Act in March gave Hitler dictatorial powers, effectively ending democracy. Between 1933 to 34, Hitler eliminated opposition through a combination of legal measures and terror. Political parties were banned, trade unions dissolved, and the press brought under Nazi control. The Night of the Long Knives in June 1934 saw the purge of SA leadership, including Rome, and other perceived threats, consolidating Hitler's power and gaining army support. When Hindenburg died in August 1934, Hitler merged the offices of Chancellor and President, declaring himself Führer, leader of Germany. Domestic policies and Nazi Germany. Hitler's regime implemented sweeping changes in German society. The economy was reorganized under state direction, with massive public works projects, like the Autobahn, reducing unemployment. Rearmament, in violation of the Treaty of Versailles, began in secret and then openly after 1935. The 1936 four-year plan, overseen by Hermann Göring, prepared Germany for war. Nazi racial policies targeted Jews, Roma, disabled people, and other undesirables. The 1935 Nuremberg laws stripped Jews of citizenship and prohibited relations with non-Jews. Cultural life was Nazified, with books burned and degenerate art banned. The Hitler Youth and League of German Girls indoctrinated young people, while the Gestapo, secret police, and concentration camps, like Dachau, established in 1933, suppressed dissent. Foreign policy and road to war. Hitler's foreign policy aimed at overturning Versailles, uniting German-speaking peoples, and acquiring Lebensraum, living space, in Eastern Europe. He withdrew Germany from the League of Nations in 1933, reintroduced conscription in 1935, and remilitarized the Rhineland in 1936, each gamble meeting little resistance. The Anschluss with Austria in March 1938 was followed by demands on Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland. At the Munich Conference in September 1938, Britain and France appeased Hitler, hoping to avoid war. However, Hitler's occupation of the rest of Czechoslovakia in March 1939 revealed his broader ambitions. The Nazi-Soviet Pact in August 1939, a temporary alliance with Stalin, cleared the way for Hitler to invade Poland on September 1, 1939, triggering World War II when Britain and France declared war 2 days later. World War II. Hitler's early military campaigns were stunningly successful. Poland fell in weeks, divided with the Soviets, followed by Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, and France in 1940. Only Britain, under Churchill, held out after Dunkirk and the Battle of Britain. In June 1941, Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, his ultimate ideological war for Lebensraum. Initially successful, the campaign stalled at Moscow in winter 1941. Hitler's assumption of direct military command in December 1941 led to strategic blunders, compounded by his refusal to retreat. The tide turned after Stalingrad, 1942-43, and Kursk, 1943. With Soviet counteroffensives pushing the Germans back. Meanwhile, the U.S. entry into the war after Pearl Harbor, December 1941, opened a second front. The Holocaust. Parallel to the war, Hitler implemented the final solution, the systematic genocide of European Jews. What began with ghettos and Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing units, in the East evolved into industrialized murder at camps like Auschwitz. 6 million Jews were murdered, along with millions of others: Roma, Slavs, disabled people, political opponents, etc. While Hitler rarely put orders in writing, his central role in the Holocaust is undisputed. Downfall and death. After the failed July 20, 1944 assassination attempt by Klaus von Stauffenberg, Hitler's health declined amid Parkinson's-like symptoms and drug use. As Allied forces closed in from east and west in 1945, Hitler retreated to his Berlin bunker. On April 29, 1945, he married his longtime companion Eva Braun and dictated his political testament, blaming Jews for the war and urging continued resistance. The next day, April 30th, Hitler and Braun committed suicide, he by gunshot and cyanide, she by cyanide alone. Their bodies were burned in the Reich Chancellery Garden as Soviet troops advanced. Legacy and historical assessment. Hitler's legacy is one of unparalleled destruction, an estimated 50 to 80 million war dead, including the Holocaust's victims. The Nazi regime's collapse left Germany divided and Europe reshaped. Historians continue debating Hitler's psychology, the nature of his dictatorship, and how such evil could emerge in a modern, cultured society. He remains the ultimate symbol of tyranny and hatred, his name synonymous with evil and collective memory.